Naiban, Tasseng, Naikong, or is it Puto, Zongka, Saufe, and Gitpa? Titles, honors, and posts that our veteran elders and fellow Hmong kinsmen in modern times would utter might he be the official himself in the olden days, or an honored ancestor of his family once held that post, or a great man he once knew or heard of sat in that seat. But at times, hearing such things, we wondered here at Tiger Bite-Sized History, do they even know what they speak of? What comes to their minds when they bring up these titles or men? Do you, our wonderful viewers, know or are you able to follow the meaning and weight of some of our videos involving men who held these titles? Don't worry, here at Tiger Bite-Sized History, we will give you a historical primer, a way to understand and get a better grasp of these titles that the Hmong had used in local administration. One of the first questions you should ask is what era are we talking about in reference to these Hmong historical figures? Are we talking about the old era, which spanned from the 1850s to the 1920s, from the time of the Muong Phuan Kingdom to the early years of French colonial rule in Indochina? Or are we referring to the pre-modern era, which itself spanned from the 1920s to the start of the Secret War in Laos? Then, we finally come to the Secret War era, spanning from 1961 to 1975, where at times we sit there listening and wonder, what part of Laos were they referring to? Sometimes, same titles meant different ranks in different eras that they were reminiscing about, or depending on which province they had came from, that would have a different meaning in different eras. Now, our first look is into the old era. The Hmong had just began to arrive in the Indochina Peninsula, settling in large numbers around the Nonghet region, though the Hmong settled in other parts of Laos too, in particular in the provinces of Luang Prabang and Samna. Now, when the Hmong chieftains arrived in sufficient force within the Nonghet region of the Lao Muong Phuan Kingdom in modern-day Siem Khoa, the Muong Phuan King, with his Vietnamese influence court, bestowed titles to each of the Hmong chieftains. The highest rank was that of Kaitong, Kaitong in Hmong, meaning little king or petty king in archaic Vietnamese. Below the Kaitong was that of the Putong, who was the village headman. Along with the Kaitong, there would be a Savang who worked as his secretary. This system was in place until the Muong Kaitong rebellion in 1896, by which time the Lao and French tried to ease the tension with the Hmong and tried to incorporate the Hmong into the colonial administrative structure. So let's dive in. Looking at the Hmong during the old era, under the colonial Tasseng system, at this time the highest rank the Hmong would attain was that of Naikong, or Special District Administrator, a post that was unique to the Laotian Highlands. This was so particularly in the Highlands of Laos, as many areas were not surveyed nor incorporated to the lowland Lao political structure, as Laos as a nation was just being slowly formed and created out of a patchwork of various kingdoms. Below the Naikong, who at that time was made up of a couple of sub-districts or Tasseng. Here, the first Hmong Tasseng post was given to the Hmong leader at the conclusion of the peace at the end of the Muong Kaitong rebellion below Mount Chapakno. The Tasseng was the sub-district chief who at that time was the most powerful position. Then below the Tasseng was the Naiban or village chieftain. A Tasseng would oversee several Naiban in his sub-district council as they governed their respective Hmong populations. These lower-level appointments of the Hmong were recognized in conjunction with the still existing Kaitong system. The Kaitong system would eventually die out with the passing of Kaitong or Kietop Lomleya, as the Muong Phuan Kingdom was incorporated into the newly formed Lao Kingdom under the French Empire. This was the system of the old era local administration of the Hmong in the Laotian Highlands. An example of how this looked, we go to the unorganized territory of Nong Het at the turn of the 20th century. Nong Het was originally just allocated one Tasseng subdistrict chieftain to run the territory, which was one of the most powerful official posts of the Hmong in all of Southeast Asia. Then, as the Hmong population was growing in the Nong Het region, there was a split between the growing Green Hmong of Nong Het and the White Hmong of Nong Het under Kiet Lobleya. Eventually, two Tasseng subdistricts were then created to govern the region, and a Lao Naikong was appointed to oversee this region after Kiet Lobleya refused the post offered by the French. Eventually, after the passing of Kiet Lobleya, this Naikong post was given to Bajé Lifo to oversee under the patronage of his father Lifo and the French. Now running parallel with the Tasseng system of the Hmong in the Muong Phuan lands, in neighboring Luang Prabang and Samna provinces, the Hmong populace there were given a different set of local administrative titles. There were no Hmong Kietongs or Tassengs appointed there in this old era, but Hmong clan chieftains were given the title of Fei instead, which was on the same level as that of a Naikong. After Batai's rebellion toward it greatly frightened the French. The Hmong in Samnu were subsequently awarded with 5 Fei positions to bring the Hmong there into the French and Lao political orbit. Thereafter, as time marched on, we come to the time of the pre-modern era. While the French flirted with the idea of creating a supreme Hmong position in Siêng Khouang province, the idea fell through, and from 1920 to 1945, the highest rank any Hmong in Laos held was that of Naikong. But after Louis Phom had assisted the French during World War II and the Lao-Sarao Vietnamese conflict, the Hmong were rewarded with political titles for their services. The Hmong in Siêng Khouang were promoted to several new district and sub-district posts. Louis was appointed to the highest rank any Hmong ever held in Laos, which was that of Cao Wang Miao, or mayor of all the Hmong in Laos, and that vice Cao, or the post of deputy governor for Siêng Khouang province. Louis was given both roles and earned multiple mandates under the French colonial patronage. Both roles no Hmong ever had the privilege to even think about obtaining. Louis ended up having multiple mandates within the newly formed Lao nation. Now, along with Tubi and his brother's appointments to higher office, several Hmong were appointed to more Naikong positions, and the number of Hmong Tassengs more than doubled after the Second World War. And though Tui's power reached all Hmong in every corner of Laos, the structure of local administration under this system in the new Lao nation was limited only to the Hmong in Siêng Khouang. In Samna province and elsewhere, these changes were not put in place. The Fei system remained dormant, and the French simply ceased administrative contact with them. It was not until the time the First French Indochina War erupted in did the French put in place a new administrative system for the Hmong in Samna, who rendered assistance and joined the wars of the French and the regional powers. By this time, the old 5 Fei positions were abolished, and 5 new Feis were appointed, albeit from the same 5 Hmong clans in Samna before their offices were converted into Naikong positions, as Samna province was rolled into the rest of the newly independent Kingdom of Laos in 1947. Here, these were the local administrative systems that ruled the Hmong and how the Hmong governed their people. By the time we come to the era of the Secret War, the Hmong rose even higher in local administrative politics. At the top, the highest local administrative position a Hmong held was that of Vice Governor, or the Deputy Governor in Sincon Province, a seat that Thuy once held. As Thuy and his brothers moved on and rose to national political office, the Hmong would end up having 6 Hmong or district mayors. Specifically, there were Hmong Hmongs or district mayors governing Nong Het, Mong Mok, Vieng Sai, Han Sai, and Vieng Pha in Sincon Province, and 1 Hmong in Hom Nom District, or the newly named Hmong District under General Vang Pao that was created in 1963 in Sam Nay. Below the Hmong, the position of Naikong grew into hundreds, and so did that of the Tasseng under General Vang Pao as he took over control of Military Region 2, which consisted of both Sincon Province and Sam Nay Province. Now, as the Hmong population was greatly displaced by the secret war fighting in Laos, a mass of Hmong communities in the war-torn regions streamed into the refugee zones around Muong Phuan, Ban Son Nasu, and Muong Phuan to reorganize and utilize pre-existing clan and kinship loyalties of these displaced populations. General Vang Pao appointed administrators among these communities, using the title of Naikong as it was a quote-unquote special district chief position in order to maintain the loyalty of these new Hmong and give them and their own trusted clan leaders a voice. Whether in Sincon or Sam Nay Province, the local administrative system was now one under General Vang Pao. This was how the Hmong governed their people during the Secret War era with the patronage of General Vang Pao up until the war ended in 1975. And with that, we end this episode of the Hmong History Series. Please like and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you.